Hi kids! Today we're going to be reading Crow and the Waterhole by Amberlyn Quay Mulliner. There was once a crow who lived in a tree by a waterhole. Crow was unhappy. Each morning she stared into the water and saw another crow staring back. Crow thought Crow in the Waterhole was the most wonderful bird she had ever seen. She looks like a crow who could change the world. I wish I could be like her. This went on until, finally, Crow flew away to seek her destiny, hoping to become as wonderful as Crow in the Waterhole. Crow had not flown far when the air grew hot and she heard the crackle of flames. Looking down, she saw fire racing across the ground towards a tiny green gum tree. "Please help me, Crow," cried Little Gum. "One day I will be a big tree where crows can make their nests, but now I am small and the fire will burn me up." Crow was very afraid of fire, but remembering how much she loved her own tree by the waterhole, she launched herself downwards to pull Little Gum from the ground. She carried him until she found a river surrounded by many trees and placed him gently on the earth. "Thank you, Crow," called Little Gum, happily digging his roots into the soil. But Crow was unhappy, for in the river she saw a crow even more wonderful than Crow in the Waterhole. "She looks like a crow that is very brave. I wish I could be like her." And Crow flew on sadly. Crow heard someone calling her from below. Looking down, she saw a young goanna clinging to the side of a rock pool. "Crow, Crow!" cried Goanna. I went to get a drink, but I fell in. Can you pull me out?" Crow saw the sides of the pool were not steep, and Goanna, though young, was big and strong. "Goanna!" Crow called. "You're such a fine large goanna, I know you can climb out on your own." Crow sounded so sure of this that Goanna believed her, and with a mighty heave he hauled himself out of the water. "Thank you, Crow," called Goanna, skittering happily away. But Crow was unhappy, for in the rock pool she saw a crow even more wonderful than Crow in the river or Crow in the Waterhole. "She looks like a crow that has great faith in others. I wish I could be like her." And Crow flew on, sadder than ever. Soon dark clouds filled the sky, lightning flashed, thunder roared, and it began to rain. Crow saw a paperbark tree standing all alone and plunged downwards to shelter in its branches. "Oh, Crow!" cried Paperbark. "You are my first visitor in such a long time. I was burned in a fire and lost all my leaves. Now I have grown back bushier than ever, but the animals have forgotten me. Can you sing to remind them I am here?" Crow didn't like to sing because the other birds teased her about her harsh voice, but she felt sorry for Paperbark, so when the storm passed she flew around and around calling loudly, "Caw! Caw! Poor Paperbark all alone, come see Paperbark all strong and green, caw! Caw!" Crow's voice carried a long way and animals began to follow the sound. Ants marched, lizards crawled, and birds flew until all of Paperbark was filled with life. "Thank you, Crow," called Paperbark, rustling his branches happily. But Crow was unhappy, for in a puddle left by the rain, she saw a crow even more wonderful than Crow in the pool, Crow in the river, or Crow in the Waterhole. "She looks like a crow with a kind heart. I wish I could be like her." And this time, Crow was so sad that she began to cry. A kookaburra flapped down to land beside her. "Crow, why are you crying?" he asked. The sun is bright and all the animals have come back to Paperbark. What's there to be sad about?" So Crow told Kookaburra about how she had left her home to seek her destiny, but that everywhere she went, she kept seeing other crows, each more wonderful than the last. "Oh, Kookaburra," she sobbed, "how can I ever be as good as any of them?" Kookaburra laughed and laughed. "Silly Crow! Crow in the waterhole is you, and Crow in the river is you, and Crow in the pool is you. You have been looking at your own reflection all along." Crow stared at Kookaburra, and then at the puddle. She touched the water with her beak, and when Crow in the puddle rippled and disappeared, she realized she had indeed been staring at her own image. Happy at last, Crow returned to her tree by the waterhole, but this time, when she looked into the water, she saw a crow that was brave, faithful, kind and wise, and she knew that the crow was her. In the years that followed, whenever Crow met someone seeking their destiny, she would show them their reflection in the waterhole and say, "Your destiny lies within you. All you need to do is learn how to see it." The end. That book was amazing. I think that might have to be my favourite book I've read so far. What do you think? Do you want to be like Crow? I think that's a very good thing to be. Alright kids, I'm going to have to go now. I hope you have a good night and I'll see you all next time. See you kids!